Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Schnozcast. Corey, how are you, sir?
Oh, hello, good sir. I'm doing great because guess what? We have an amazing guest on today.
We do.
But I'll pass it over to Todd. Todd, how are you doing, sir?
Corey, I am inevitable. Bob, how you doing?
What?
Is that applicable?
That's a direct Thanos ripoff is what that is. So I guess I have to. There's no choice. I am Iron Man. And with that, I mean, you left me no choice.
And pass it over to
Our special guest,
Our guest.
Andrew Rivers. Sir, welcome. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm really, don't ask me how I am. My feelings aren't important, but I'm excited to be hanging out with three old dudes on a Saturday night, just like I dreamed it.
Hey, Andrew, hang on. Before we get the show started, I'm the youngest of the group by about 20 years. I might not look like it. Yeah, I might not look like it, but I am
include myself in the old cat. I turned 40 this year, so there's no denying what's about to happen. We're all wearing glasses. It's time we start being real with everybody. The gray in the beard is coming in. This guy's bald, and
By choice, though. I mean, I could grow out an afro next week if I wanted to.
Hold on a second. I smell a challenge. Andrew, if you come back,
indeed.
we promise that he'll have the fro for that episode.
Big Don King fro.
if he grows a fro, I'll drive out to his undisclosed man cave and actually hang out with him.
There we go.
Score.
Oh, that's
I
going to
think
happen.
That's a fair trade. Andrew, thank you so much for
to make
joining.
it
We were
easier
super
to identify
excited.
to the police. The one black guy in his city. I don't know if we're allowed to give out where he lives yet, but
No, go right
People
ahead.
follow me around all the time. I think they know.
Anyway, thank you so much, Andrew, for joining. We're so excited to have you on the show. We've been following you for a little while here, and Todd, I'm going to kind of dish it over to you because I feel like if there is an Andrew Rivers historian on the podcast, it's you, sir, because you're the only one lucky enough to see him live.
Yeah, a couple times even. Yeah.
Ooh.
So, Andrew, yes,
I
thank
wish you would stop leaving notes on my car, but thank you.
Exactly. Please come on our show. Please come on our show. No, thank you. And before I get started talking about you, I think we got to start this out by saying, again, your dad is a superstar in radio, and I got to ask you, what is your favorite Twisted tune? That's my first question, and I'm going to quick add on before you answer. Is the A-hole son? Is that you?
No, that one's about Keith. I was always the good one, so he and I got along well. The one that was about me was "Hey There, Chlamydia." So I believe I'm owed some royalties from Atlantic Records, but it's I get asked this once in a while. It's always hard to. I never really make a list. I'm not a list guy. When people are like, "What's your favorite this or that?" I'm not. I don't carry a list in my pocket, but I Am Santa Claus was the iconic one, and the fact that we got to meet Ozzy Osbourne and other people could see how bad my role models were, really helped generate more sympathy for me. And I think we started on that album. We were young kids, and so he just shoved a microphone in our face. And but I was honored to kind of share him with everybody because everyone else got to see how cool my dad was, and I feel so lucky that he wasn't a hack. Like, he could have been like a terrible comedian, but it was really good songs. Even as I started to become a comedian myself and try to write comedy, I realized like this is like top-notch work, and so it's pretty cool.
I will tell you, my favorite is Bowel Moves, followed closely by When a Man Loves His Chicken.
See, you're going deep cuts there. That's a true fan. He's not listing the top 10 on Wikipedia. He's he's got some stomach problems. I think you can tell a lot about a person by what kind of music they're listening to. So now we all know too much. We wish we wouldn't be here.
Exactly. For those people listening in, if you haven't heard Bowel Moves by Bob Rivers, check it out on YouTube. It is the most amazing song ever. Hey, then my next thing I wanted to kind of poke at, we're so, if you hadn't guessed, Bob and Corey are in the Detroit area. I'm a Detroiter from my past, and so I got to ask this question: if your comedy style was a classic or current vehicle, what type of what make and model would it be? What features would you highlight?
I think it's a kind of a Prius. You know, it's nothing fancy. It's very efficient. There's not a lot of wasted energy, and you know, it delivers. It's reliable. It gets you there. It's not plain by any means. It's underrated. You know, I think people look at a Prius and they go, stupid car. But then you get inside a Prius. I used to drive a Prius. I don't know if you can tell that I'm biased in this answer, but sometimes I'd pick a girl up for a date and she'd be like, what the hell? And then she would get in the car. She'd be like, this is actually pretty cool. And so I feel like that's a metaphor for me. Like from far away, you're going to be like, look at this idiot. But if you get to know me, you know, I got some redeeming qualities, I think.
A small ride.
Yeah.
The ride
Yes. Oh, God. I really walked right into that one. So that's pretty good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. The next thing I got after doing a little bit of research. Again, I've seen you a couple of times live. My wife and I love your shows, and so you've got fans for life. The one thing doing the research that I noticed, and you're ripping on my bald head, you've rocked more hairstyles than the law should allow. I mean, I've seen your own hippie and a little looking like Richie Cunningham from the Happy Days. You've rocked so many hairstyles. Again,
I don't know. I can't settle on a look. You know, I think that's why I'm not famous, and I'm doing a podcast with you guys. I think I change my look too often to really get recognized. I mean, people still recognize me. Don't get it twisted. I'm very famous, but I think that as you're scrolling on the internet, you're not like, oh, it's the same guy every time. And so I think I'm going to grow a beard next. Right after you grow an afro, I'll grow a beard. I think both things are possible and realistic. So, no, I've always wanted to try having long hair. And so during the pandemic, everyone was complaining like, I need a haircut, open back up. And I was like, it's not that hard. And so I just shaved my head entirely. And then I just kind of let it grow for a couple years because my job was illegal and I couldn't afford haircuts to begin with. So I just tried rocking the long hair for a while, and I think it's run its course. And so, but in my life, every 4 or 5 years, I've always just kind of had to shave my head to, mentally reset, like Britney Spears. You just get a little crazy, and instead of attacking people with an umbrella, I just take it out on myself with the clippers.
Do you think your comedy persona changes at all based on your hairstyle?
I don't know. I think what people perceive of you is different. And so that's what's interesting, like my first, you mentioned the Richie Cunningham with I had the big swoop going on. And so that was for a clean comedy special that was for Mormons. I know you're familiar with the Mormons, and
I'm more than familiar.
Yes, sir.
Just talked to her today, actually.
You really?
I did.
Yeah. Well, I won't mention who was a big fan of soaking, but we were talking about it pre-show. And so, you had to have certain content restrictions. And so I thought like a nice clean look will get me further. And then I was always going to be a clean comedian. And then I think just the pandemic happened, and it was like, I want to write dead baby jokes, I guess. So, we all grow as we get older.
In more ways than one. Bob, you had something?
I did. I wanted to ask, so was there a moment, Andrew, where you made that decision that I think this is what I want to do? Was there like a turning point or a decision that or event that happened
I
that
feel like the decision was made for me sometimes. I mean, I grew up with, my dad was on the radio. And so I learned early that, your lived stories and your lived experiences could be fodder. I realized pretty soon that the dinner table was just open mic night for my dad. And so he was gathering all this information and then just making fun of us. And so there was certainly that element of it, and growing up around it. That's kind of how I learned to problem solve, was just to make fun of things. And so we can debate whether that's healthy, and I'll get you in touch with my therapist. But I went to film school, and I got a job at a advertising agency. And I started as an intern, and I worked my way up after a year to be a full-time employee. But then it was 2008, 2009, and the economy started crashing, and they've laid me off. Like, we love you, but we have no work. And so I just felt like my dad kind of kicked me in the ass because I was sitting around doing nothing with my life. And he was like, go do something. And so I was like, I'll go do an open mic. I'll show you. And he was like, that sounds great. And so I don't know, it just kind of, I gave a speech at my brother's wedding, and that had elements of I think being funny. I had like a rule of 3 and different comedy techniques that I didn't really know what I was doing. I just kind of, it felt right. Like, I didn't read comedy books. I just watched a lot of comedy. And so, and my dad took me to see stand-up comedy all the time. So it just felt natural. And then once you get on stage, you learn pretty quickly whether you want to be up there for a long amount of time or not,
Did it feel natural from the very beginning when you did
That's
it? Like,
awesome.
oh, this is good. I like the way this feels.
No, I mean, I was a natural, but it took a while for the audience to realize it. Is sort of the problem. It's like it takes a while to put your genius in a form that the audience can understand. And so I was just very shy growing up, and so it took me a while to be comfortable just talking in front of people, and then not only when it's going well, but then learning how to handle it when it's not going the way you want it to, So, yeah.
I feel your pain, brother.
Yeah.
I feel your pain.
Yeah, you don't feel his pain.
No, there's no way.
You've never once been in that situation, buddy.
Yeah. When you watched him twice,
You guys don't understand my genius.
Were you thinking, Todd, like, no, I feel that guy's pain? I totally do.
I feel like I'm the talent, and nobody recognizes that week to week.
Yeah, we try to recognize it,
I'm
but
starting
Anyway.
to take your guys' side now. I realize. I apologize. I thought you were bullying him, and I realized he's
See?
the asshole.
Yes. About time. The
You
internet
got me. You got me.
has acknowledgement and verification.
We have. I was going to ask something about this, but we actually have a question from one of our viewers, which is awesome. They want to. Hey, what's your style? How do you work the crowd? And I've actually seen you. It seems like you get crowd participation at every show. How do you handle hecklers? What's your formula for dealing with what's coming out of the crowd?
Well, hecklers are sort of like snowflakes, they're easily offended and they're unique. And so they come in different shapes and sizes. I mean, literally, some hecklers are not intending to be disruptive. They just think they're helping. Some people are just drunk and can't keep their thoughts inside, and they just got to blurt out whatever comes to their mind. So it's important to recognize how disruptive they're being and whether the rest of the audience hates them enough for you to like really dig in on them. One of my favorite techniques is to try to get them to apologize. And this is a thing that takes a long time to learn too, is like, you always want to, like, there's this temptation that I find myself trying to make a quick remark and like slam them down. But sometimes you can stop the show and just go like, hey, what are you doing? Like, break the fourth wall and just try to be a human and have a conversation, and that'll lead somewhere. So one of my favorite techniques is like, if I can get them to apologize, like if I can make them feel bad for interrupting, like, and then they say sorry, one of my go-to comebacks is like, well, the best apology is changed behavior. And then that usually gets the audience to go crazy because they're like, oh shit, he just went dad mode on a heckler, you know.
6th grade teacher.
Literally. And it gets the point across that, like, if you are sorry, then shut the fuck up.
Well said.
So the Nonsense Zone did chime in here. They said they're going to check Andrew out ASAP. And they're going to travel to Burlington,
And
Vermont.
I asked a question about this.
Okay. So, yeah. So, Andrew, you already got more fans than we already have just from this one podcast.
We're really good at that self-promotion thing, if you haven't figured that out.
And
everyone who unfollows them and follows me gets $1.
Wow.
Oh, so you're looking for a $20 tip?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not going to get much out of it.
Can I counter with can I do a $1 counter to unfollow us, follow him, and then follow us again?
As a matter of fact, Todd's the one with helicopter
or just
money.
follow everybody, and then you decide who's the best, and then you slowly unfollow 3 weeks later when no one notices.
And then apologize
Quiet
to all of
unfollowing.
us.
I like it.
The best apology is changed behavior.
Word. I love it.
I feel like this is a
Now, do you have any
question that
questions for
probably
us?
this is hold on, Todd. Todd, God damn it, this is probably a question that you get asked all the time. But I love the question itself. Is, you know, who were the comedians that you listened to that were formative to you?
Well, you know, Christopher Titus is one of my idols and one of my mentors. You know, my dad was on the radio, and so I used to come in to the radio show when I was like 2 weeks into comedy, and I would like bring my notebook in and try out jokes on my dad, and I was awful. And it was a segment where they just made fun of me for a while until I actually got decent. But one time I was telling jokes and they go, you should stick around. We're interviewing Christopher Titus and you can tell him a joke. And so I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. But I told the joke and it wasn't even a good joke, but you know, I didn't even get, you know, it's hard to get a pity laugh a second time when they've heard the joke already. So no one in the room laughed, and I assume no one on the radio listening laughed. And then it was a joke about the Sonics, so Christopher Titus didn't even get it. And so then I had to like explain a joke, and so he kind of ripped into me pretty hard. But this video is still up on my YouTube channel, but then he gave me like a 3-minute lecture on how to write comedy and how to write my stories, and I never forgot that. And then every year when he would come to town, I would kind of show up and be like, I'm the nerdy kid that talked to you. And he's like, yeah, get away, security. And so, you know, I just bugged him enough that we became friends. And so I'm actually going to go see him tonight as soon as this is over. He's in Tacoma. And, you know, I got to be on his podcast last week. You know, he also only has 20 viewers. So, you know, don't give up the dream, guys.
We're winning.
Thanks for that.
But there's, you know, you're inspired by everybody. That's the honest truth is, you know, sometimes you learn what not to do, to be honest. Like people that took me out on the road early on, like we had these tours that were called Tribble runs. And the joke is that they were so far apart that you had to get an oil change in between every gig. So you would literally drive 6 hours to Canada, Oregon, and then you would drive 8 hours to Winnemucca, Nevada, and then you would circle back to like, you know, Portland, Oregon or something like that. And that was like a 3-day run and you made $300. But it was like good training ground because if you bombed, no one's calling you from Winnemucca, Nevada to be like, this guy is awful, you know? They're just lucky to have any entertainment out there. So you would do these small towns and then you would learn techniques like, you know, you want to early on in your career, you want to be in these bad comedy clubs because you want to be able to handle hecklers. Like in a good club, they police the room and and they'll kick you out. But in a bad club where they don't care, they're like, yeah, yell at the comedian all you want. We don't give a shit. And so you want to be in places where that's maybe you're exposed to that more often, so you can learn how to be in a knife fight, so to speak. And so, but then after a while, you if you're only in those bad comedy spaces, then you're going to learn bad habits where you're constantly yelling because it's a bad sound system, or you're doing like really, lowbrow humor or something like that, just because that's the type of audience you're getting. And so, you never necessarily grow in your art. And so, you learn the good and the bad from everybody. And, you take pieces you like, and then you dismiss people, and then later on realize they had some wisdom too. And so I'm actually working on a book because when I started comedy, I had this notebook that I would have every headliner sign with a piece of advice. And so I've collected like 200 signatures. And so I'm going to turn that into a book where I sort of group a couple pages into a category and then write a little bit about those using some of my real life experiences. And then I get to claim that I'm friends with famous people because I pastored them on their way to their limousine, and I was like, please sir, sign my autograph. And
I think that's a great title, pestering you on the way to your limousine.
Yeah, that's good. You know what?
Title.
I hope this good thing you have no fans, because you're not going to be able to prove that you
no,
came
absolutely.
up with that title.
You could totally steal that. I won't even
copyright.
remember that I said it.
That's good. That's good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be pestering you from your Prius.
Hell yeah.
Because you've given me the blueprint now. I mean, ultimately, that's why you're on the show. You gave me the blueprint. So I have a joke that I want to tell you. This is my favorite joke.
No. Oh.
I think the connection's breaking up. I don't know what happened, but
yeah. If only I could mute Todd and not.
Come on.
Well, you know what? The good news is,
can I?
Usually when this happens after a show, it's usually like a racist joke, but you're black, so I don't think that's where this is going.
It's not.
Don't.
But it's lowbrow. It's lowbrow. So why don't birds wear pants?
Why don't birds wear pants? Because their fly would be down or something like that?
No, because they're peckers on their face.
Ah, okay.
Right.
That's pretty good.
Success.
Andrew, don't worry. I can mute him for the rest of the show.
Yeah, that's not going to go. We're gonna edit that out of the final product.
I'm glad you got my DM there. I wasn't sure if that went through, but
yeah, absolutely.
You can't reuse Andrew's joke, Todd.
Yeah, so this really raises another
Stop
good question
stealing
for
my
Andrew.
material, okay?
Yeah.
So Andrew, what do you do when fans come up and try to sell you on their jokes? Do you just entertain them, or do you kind of politely walk away
You just
backwards?
politely nod and go, oh, hope that they never see you again. And, you stop responding to their emails and don't go on their podcast ever again. And,
Yep.
it's not that often. Usually you try to stop them and go, look, this is probably going to be racist. I'm not interested. And then,
but you're black, and so that's not way.
Yeah, but you're black, so it's probably fine. And then you go, oh, I see, a dick joke. How clever. And then you just politely nod and go, all right, cool, let's move on.
So Andrew, you said you're good friends with Christopher Titus. I have to ask, do you know why did his show get canceled? It was a great show.
I agree with you. It was my bonding with my father. A lot of it took place during that show. I would go, oh, you're not such a bad guy after all. I only know Titus's side of the story, so I could just be spreading propaganda that he's been telling me over the years.
So for anyone listening, this is Andrew's side. It's not both sides, which is understandable.
I like that you started with "if anyone's listening." Keep going.
Okay, Andrew's side. So what happened with it as far as you heard?
Well, as the legend goes, they tried to move time slots, or he pissed off someone at the he's famously kind and easy to get along with, and no temper problem, and came from a good family. So something happened where there was this happens in entertainment sometimes, where the person who believed in your show gets fired, and then a new person comes in to run the network, and then goes, I don't like this filth. And, like Todd was saying, they don't recognize your genius. And so I think that he pissed somebody off, and they tried to move him to like a midnight time slot where no one would see the show. And so then he started cursing that person out. And then when the ratings went low, he was even angrier. And then they said, you know what, screw it. But I think he did. I think he filmed like a lost third season or something like that and made it. And during the pandemic, and he put it up on his YouTube channel. So that's an option for people.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
I'd heard that rumor. I have to check it out.
I say, I thought it was a great show. And so, after it being canceled so early, I just figured since you're friends with him, you might have a little insight. So I do appreciate that. My second question for you.
Well, it matches up. He's kind of an asshole, so I can see how he would rub someone the wrong way.
I mean, fair enough.
Well, clearly he's not supporting you tonight by listening to this podcast.
Yeah. I'm not sure Andrew necessarily. I think he's okay with that. He's all right with that.
So, well, yeah, I don't want him to know that
I am our show
at this low point in my career. He still thinks I'm cool, so I don't want to dispel any illusion of that.
Right. Sorry.
So,
a second
so my
while we're on that, can you share the advice that he gave you?
What was that? Sorry.
I'm sorry, Corey. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead, Tom.
I was going to ask if you'd share the advice that he gave you about your creative process. And again,
sure. So, and he's famous for giving this advice. This isn't like an Andrew Rivers exclusive or anything. So, basically, what he would tell you is write out a story exactly as it happened, and don't even try to be funny. Just write it out as it happened, and then once you have all of the facts, you can sort of distort them at your leisure. So like after every sentence, you would say, now what's funny about that sentence? And that way you're aiming for a joke, like the story, whether it's, 30 seconds or 5 minutes, should just be a series of one-line jokes. So after every sentence, you try to write something funny about that sentence. And then maybe if you can't think of anything, you don't need that part of the maybe it's extraneous information. I don't know if I'm using that word right, but maybe it's, you're trimming the fat from your story basically. And so then you can kind of go over your story like that. And then you can start over and go, okay, we've got a joke here. Maybe there's a better joke even. And so that's how you move beyond just the pecker,
Thank you for that, Andrew.
What's beyond the pecker?
I'll tell you when you're older, son.
Oh, shit. That was good. Well played. Well played.
This is not my favorite podcast ever.
Honor. Thank you.
Go ahead.
This is my least favorite podcast.
Well, we've got 30 minutes. We got 30 minutes to turn them around.
Yeah. So, Andrew, you talked about your dad being on the radio. What channel was he on? Like, where was he at? Was it like a local?
So he was on in Seattle. He started in Baltimore actually, and then he had a big publicity stunt where he got famous because I think it was 1988 or something like that. The Baltimore Orioles started the season 0-22 or something like that, and so in the middle of their streak, he said something stupid like, I'm not going off the air until the Orioles win a game, thinking it would just be a couple days or something like that. And he ended up staying on the air for like 18 days or something ridiculous like that.
Oh, my God.
And so
that's awesome.
He would just play, Freebird on a loop for a couple hours and take naps in the back room. And also, I don't know if I'm spoiling any industry secrets, but in the 80s, cocaine was very popular. And so, I know you. I'll explain when you're older. And,
Appreciate it.
So that kind of got him some national recognition. And then he accepted a job in Seattle, and then I think I think rehab was sort of a mandatory part of the new job or something like that, or very quickly they realized that they were overpaying their talent maybe. And so my mom will retell me the story, and she'll show me she's pulling out all these photos of like, here's us visiting dad in rehab, and we would just tell you he was at a work trip or whatever. And it's funny because, not to make this but this just popped in my head, Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and his wife keeps saying like, oh, I just tell my kids he's on a work trip with Jesus. And it's like, eventually you got to tell the kids that he's dead. But I've never parented, so maybe I don't know the rules. But, so I don't know, but he eventually sobered up and got his life together, thank God. And so he was on KISW in Seattle. He was on KZOK in Seattle. And then he did a quick stint on KJR in Seattle. And there's sort of a famous story, part of the Bob Rivers lore, where he recognized the state of the industry as some legislature passed where, all these big media companies could just consolidate under 3 umbrellas. So where it's like CNN owns 80% of the stations, and then the rest are split up between the other 2. And so he realized like there's not going to be really local talent, and as technology got better, these guys could do a radio show from their house, or they could be broadcasted nationally. And so he put a clause in his next contract negotiation that said, I have to be syndicated, and you have to leave me on air for at least 2 months so I can try to get some traction in a new market. And then, we were talking about earlier, that person got fired, and then a new person came in and said, Bob Rivers is a hack. No one cares.
Oh, no.
And I've got a different idea. And so they just kicked him off the air. And he said, what about my contract? And they said, sue us. We don't give a shit. And so he ended up taking them to court, and kind of a Taylor Swift move. Like he instead of taking $1, he said, I want all of this money to go to a charity. And so to this day, every year, our family kind of once a year gets together to pick out a bunch of charities to donate some money to, that's just sitting in a fund or whatever. And I'm like, does the Andrew Rivers charity fund count? And they're like, no, it's not a qualifier. And I'm like, I was at Deja Vu, and I met this girl named Charity. She needs help going to school. And they're like, that doesn't count either. So,
you guys have Deja Vu's out there?
Why do you think Todd moved out there? Why do you think he
I
moved
guess
out
it's
there?
a national chain. They got to syndicate,
Right across from
unlike my dad. But strip clubs in Washington actually, the rules vary state to state. So, like, I think you're allowed to have alcohol now, but for a long time you weren't allowed to have alcohol, and you weren't. See, Todd's not. He's familiar with the. Now I know what work trip we can take together. But yeah, you're not allowed to get fully nude or have alcohol in the Washington strip club. So that's why, if you're going to be in this region, everyone knows Portland is the strip club capital of the world.
Just make sure that when you guys go out together, don't let Todd, if you happen to know any of the Seattle Kraken out there, don't let Todd take them out for a good time, because it might put a very quick end to your season. He has a habit.
No, yeah.
I'm just going to tell everyone he's on the Seahawks, and they're going to just believe me,
No, he's not tall enough to be on the Seahawks. So.
You look bigger on TV.
That camera's really low.
Camera adds 20 pounds.
You can't find a helmet that big to fit that head.
Andrew,
just so you know.
Oh, go ahead, Todd.
Some current events with your dad's music collection, right? I also like Strawberry Fields. Again,
that's a great Strawberry Rehabs Forever.
And he just got pardoned.
Yeah. Wait, Darryl Strawberry got pardoned?
He did. Trump just pardoned him. So That song should go right back to the top of
Was
the
he
playlist.
still in jail? What do
Is
you?
that
I
an
think you're fucking
exclusive?
with me because that was like 1992 or whatever.
No, just got pardoned this past week.
I'm gonna see if you're bullshitting me.
What
I
the
wouldn't
odds?
bullshit you.
Well,
I'll
Donald
tell you
Trump
another joke.
pardoned Donald Trump. What the hell is this world?
A Schnozcast exclusive.
Exactly.
You heard it here first, folks.
That's a live reaction. Holy shit! What was he? I mean, I didn't know he got arrested ever, or like.
Dude, that dude's a drug
tax
dude.
evasion.
through
Tax
and through.
evasion. Okay, well, yeah. Who cares about taxes? You know, the
Exactly.
government's broke anyway, and no wonder he's pardoning all these tax evaders. You know.
I'm just saying.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
All right, Todd, if you don't
Strawberry
mind,
rehab forever.
I have a question for our guest, Todd, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Yes,
let's do
yes,
it.
Yeah, you need to take your Daryl Strawberry talk and put it to the back burner. So, sir, you did a great podcast episode on Craig Ferguson's show. It was you and Kalia McNeil who guested and talked about stand up and where you guys fit, and he's sort of the elder statesman of stand up, I think, certainly between the three of you. But you on the show, there was reference made to something called the Dope Show, where you guys would go out and do a set and then take a break and then come back. I want to hear some cool stories from that because it sounds amazing. If I was a comedian.
So it's funny. I'm actually trying to convince Titus to do a Dope Show. He's intrigued, but he's scared. And what's really fun about it is when the audience is in on the joke. Like, you can't just show up to work drunk unless you're Todd, you know. So
Right.
What's cool about that show is the audience knows what's happening, and so they're sort of rooting for chaos, you know. So it allows you to be a little free and just kind of mess with people and just kind of like be sillier, or just kind of go out and let the comedy come to you in a way. So
so you do like one set. You do like a sober set, and then you take a break.
Yeah,
and then come back.
so I should explain the format for the listeners. You do a sober set, and then there's a intermission. And sometimes there's a bus parked in the parking lot where we all hotbox, but sometimes it's just us doing drugs in an alley like everybody else in Spokane.
As you do.
But everybody else in Detroit, everybody else in every city.
100%.
Fill in the blank with your local reference if you like. So, so you take a smoke break and then you come back and try to perform again. And some people some producers are kinder, you know. There's versions of the show where they'll try to give the comedians dabs, and which is like a much stronger, and so sometimes those comedians, and you get various tolerance levels, which is also exciting. So some comedians come back and they're mute, and some comedians, the hard part is staying sober until 8 p.m. that day. So it's a really cool idea, but it can be nerve-wracking, I think, if you're not used to it. But what's cool is that the audience is in on the joke and they just want to see you mess around. And so the crazier you get, the better off it is. I did a show recently where there was a guy in the wheelchair in the front row, and my friend was giving away bongs. You can win a bong every show, or just a mason jar with a rubber cover for some reason, legally.
Wait,
for legal reasons. So you can make all sorts of things at home. So yeah, I just peeked out and I saw. Yeah, well, sign up for my exclusive course on basket weaving and bong making, and So I happened to glance out while he was giving away the bong, and there was a guy that was standing up that was in a similar outfit to the guy in the wheelchair. And so for a second, I thought, oh, this wheelchair guy is just faking it for front row ticket. And so, I don't know, I just kind of came out and messed with the guy for a little bit. And then we, depending on the audience participation level, you just, I ended up learning all about this guy's sex life. And, I actually have this on YouTube. It's not out yet, but it's one of the videos that is I try to put out a video every week at least that's on YouTube and stuff like that. It's just to keep the fans happy. And so, that's a video that's going to come out in a week or two. So go subscribe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll definitely check that one out.
You're relegated to the states where weed is legal, which is kind of, some of the issues you run into. It's a hard show to tour with, but the other show where we have done is with psychedelic mushrooms, and that can be more unpredictable, but it's also harder to find a venue that's willing to let you advertise that that's going to happen. Because a lot of people, the liquor board, you don't want to upset their kind of mafia. If you get on their bad side, it could be bad for business. So you got to find someone as shady as you.
Yeah, booze and weed, I would be fine. Actually, with weed, it would probably be. I would think it would be a great idea. Yeah, like of course I'll go on stage, but with the psychedelic,
it can really make you creative and let down your guard and make you sillier. And so it's a fun idea.
Yeah, it's psychedelics.
But the mushrooms is a disaster for some people waiting to happen, for sure.
All right,
just what I was thinking.
If you've never tried them before,
did you see the size of those chickens?
Yeah, I was
going to take the mushrooms just to hallucinate an audience for this podcast, but
that's in the range, sir.
Speaking of an audience, the Nonsense Zone had another question. They wanted to know. I've been trying to get Natalie Cuomo on my show by telling her if she comes on, she can design my next tattoo. What did Todd promise you? I don't know. I don't fully know what that means.
What?
That's what the nonsense.
Is that a question for Andrew or for?
I think it's for Todd and Andrew.
Okay.
The business dealings, I signed a non-disclosure agreement, so I can neither confirm nor deny what is about to get on his ass cheek. But I will say, get used to looking at this once in a while. What's funny about that, when the Mariners were in the playoffs, I made a bet with my Facebook that I would get the humpy salmon on my neck if we won the World Series, and so I was almost glad that we didn't win the World Series. But
you went out there. You definitely went out there. That
Humpy's
was
a great
I
mascot.
almost would have traded it for that, but yeah. Natalie's interesting. She I'm sure if you she's on like Twitch and she's in front of her computer all the time. I'm sure, you just gotta promise something better, I guess. I don't know.
I got something for her. I got something to promise.
No, Todd, you got to talk to Andy and Len from the Nonsense Zone and tell them how to sell it. They're not selling
exactly.
it hard enough.
They don't have that base.
Yeah, they didn't come with the Todd Dillon energy to the Andrew Rivers stand-up show. That's what they're not doing.
They're not
come to the woods in North Bend. I'll show you my podcast studio.
Exactly. Jerome will take good care of you. You missed out on that. Jerome was so excited to come and pick you up for the show.
Oh. I don't know who that is, but I'm glad I didn't do it.
It's Todd's hetero life mate.
Yeah, as you should be, Andrew. There's no
His
reason.
Roommate? Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. It's a weird relationship, but.
No, in all honesty, simply because Todd has apparently invited you back to his compound in North Bend, it's not a hetero life bait.
Buy me a drink first, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Todd and his lovely wife, Mary, live on this compound, obviously separated from each other by several wings of building. But she's a lovely woman. You'd have a great time. Hopefully, this Jerome person that Todd's describing will not be making an appearance, and it'll just be a normal, my three sons sort of a situation.
Well, I've got your phone number. If I get into some trouble, I'll call you for help.
Exactly. I got your back. I was going to say, you obviously haven't heard our fire alarm bit. we have issues with the beeping of the fire alarms at the place.
Okay. So. All right.
Why are you saying that you've got his back? He's clearly concerned about being at your house. You having his back does nothing to help him. I think he was talking.
I'm going to continue showing up at shows and leaving stickers on his car.
And Todd, I hate to say it, but as great as your house is, I think every black man's house has a beeping fire alarm somewhere in it.
Wow.
Corey had to go there.
Wow.
You're right most of the time, Corey, but this time you'd be wrong.
I didn't know that was a stereotype. I just thought that was poor people. But
Oh no, it's a black stereotype. I hate to say it.
Did you
guess
feel
that's
a little
black. I
funny
didn't know
saying those words
No,
out loud?
I felt great.
You felt great?
Felt
Okay.
great saying it.
All right. I thought maybe
I
we were
used
gonna
to
go with-
leave mine. I used to leave mine with the battery out because sometimes they're like really high. You can't I have high ceilings in my mansion. And so I would pull it down and then I would get the battery and then sometimes I put a new battery and just leave it on a desk somewhere. I'm like, I'll
That'll
wake
do.
up if there's a fire.
just to add a little excitement to
There's
the.
a fire. Or I won't.
Yeah.
Fire's hot. It'll wake me up.
There's a chance I'll fall trying to get the ladder, and I don't even have a ladder. I have to stack a chair and my Beanie Baby collection, and
And some books.
I'll
on
loan
top
you
of
some of
that.
my black action figures.
Oh, well, now you have to explain it. You have to.
But I don't. Actually,
Jesus.
before, because we're running short on time a little bit, but I wanted
Are
to make
we?
sure, Andrew, can you?
bummer.
No. I
No,
just
we're
wanted to-
not.
Can you highlight some of the dates you got coming up before? I have another couple questions, but I definitely wanted to highlight some of the dates you got coming up for the crew.
Well, let's see. This Thursday, actually, at Snoqualmie Casino, we're doing a memorial for my dad. I don't know if everyone was aware that he's dead now, but we're talking about him in the third person like he was still alive. So I just thought I'd mention. But he passed away, and so we're doing a big memorial show with a couple bands, and then some nepo baby comedian, and then I'll be sticking around the north. I try to stay home a lot for winter, just because flights get canceled with weather, or as far as weather goes, Seattle winter, it rains a lot, but at least your car's not going to get totaled in the snow, or something crazy is going to happen. But we do, every December, I try to go to Honolulu. And so we've done a dope show in Honolulu before, which was fun.
Nice.
I think we started the fires on Maui, to be honest. But yeah, so I'll be in Honolulu in December if anyone's out there. But AndrewJRivers.com has a mailing list. You can insert your zip code, and then I will alert you when I'm in town. And then you can, the great thing about that is you should, even if you don't think I'm funny, you should sign up for the mailing list just so you avoid when I'm in town.
For people who randomly stop by your local comedy store.
You never, some people are like, let's go for comedy night, for date night. And then they're like, oh, fuck, I didn't realize Andrew Rivers was in
Jesus.
town. But
Yeah.
sign up for alerts.
Well done,
So
sir. Well done.
if I can interject here,
Sorry.
my question was: Can you give us? We are wannabe funny guys, but can you give what's one of your favorite stories of traveling and opening up for other comedians? Where again, kind of without mentioning any names, but can you share some of the highlights and lowlights of working the road with some of?
Sure. Well,
Definitely mention names. Definitely.
This one time Todd invited me over to his house. He said he had a gig, and
No. He said famous people.
that's right. Oh, sorry. Most people are really great to you. Sometimes there's misunderstandings where I opened for Richard Lewis, R.I.P., and they were like, "Don't go in the green room. That's his green room. You go on stage once we pick." Literally, it was like a hostage negotiation where it was as soon as you go on stage, we pick him up from the hotel room, and then as soon as he gets here, we give you a light, which is the signal to wrap it up. And then you get off stage, and then he walks on stage, and then he walks off stage and gets in a car immediately back to the hotel room.
Wow.
And so when this happened, I was kind of like, man, this guy's a little neurotic. I mean, he is, but you're kind of but then you learn, and I ended up meeting him later, and he was like, well, there was no bathroom in the green room. What do they want me to sit there for 2 hours and like in this tiny broom closet? Like, no, just pick me up when the show starts, and then I'll walk right on stage. And as a Prius, I can appreciate the efficiency. Of the in and out. There's some stories of like, I used to tour with this guy, and every city he had a new girl that he would try to hook up with, and so I don't think they knew about each other necessarily, but we were sharing hotel rooms because we weren't, making enough money for everyone to get their separate room and stuff, and so almost every night he would go, "Hey, can you hang in the lobby for an hour or two?" And I'd be like, "Brother, I get it if it's once in a while, but when you like you're bringing sixes back to the hotel room, it's like just give it a break and stuff." And so,
a little sock on the door to let you know when he was done.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that because I didn't walk in on anything, but there was one time where he was maybe trying to get a little afternoon quickie in. And so we got to the city and he goes, "Hey, do you want to go grab lunch? I'm going to have a girl come over." And I go, "Oh, great." And so I go to like Chipotle, I go to the gym, I go run some errands. I kill like 2 hours, and I'm like, that's probably pretty, that's pretty generous of me. And it only probably takes him 3 minutes anyway. So, how long of a buffer?
I love where this is going.
And so I came back to the hotel room, and they were just folding laundry, and nothing was going on. And then I just sit in my room. I sit on my little bed, and I'm like working on my laptop, and he kind of signals to me. He's like, "Hey, so what's your plan for the rest of the day?" And I was like, I'm dumb because I already thought like I gave you 2 hours, So he keeps being like, "What? Did you have lunch yet? Or what are you doing later?" And I was like, "I don't know, sitting around." And he was like, I forget exactly how he said it, but because she was in the room, he had to try to be somewhat subtle, but I think he was like, "Are you sure you don't want to go for a walk?" And I was like, "Oh," he was like, "Wink, wink, get the fuck out." And I was like, yeah, I think I forgot something in my car. And so yeah, I had to go for another hour long lobby visit. But sometimes you see them leaving the hotel doing the walk of shame, and you go, "Okay, it's safe for me to return." Maybe give it a couple minutes for the hotel room to kind of air out. But
so hold on, the whole time you were at Chipotle in the gym and shopping and everything, was he just doing foreplay the whole time?
Small talk, maybe? I don't know. Yeah,
2 hours
seen him
to get in the
successfully pull quicker, so I assumed he would make easy work of it, but I guess he was struggling that day. I don't know.
Didn't have,
or maybe he was hoping for round 2 or something like that. I don't know.
Well, see, that's why I was asking.
Round two,
that's a tall order for you. Already made Andrew go out for 2.5 hours. Round 2 is a little bit presumptuous, I think.
You're just getting, and I get the financial side of it, but it was just like, hey, keep it to like a couple times a week, not every day, or like, can you just save it for like when you have a really good one, when you got a big one on the line. But sometimes I'd be like, if you need a friend, I'll just talk to you, or like. So so those are some of the bad things, but the great things are you get to be exposed to new audiences, people who've never heard of you, and then you get to brag that you're friends with them, or you get the opportunity to make all these new connections. You learn a lot of the business side from these people, depending on how much they share with you, and so all the things they tag your jokes. You're all in a tour bus for 30 days. Like I tour with this guy Steve Hofstetter regularly now, and we did 35 cities in 41 days. And so, it's 3 or 4 of us at a time just driving in this van city to city. And, you get to talk about whatever, or you get to like write jokes with each other. You get to, learn what each other smells like, really. But yeah, it's cool. And then, and then you just get new fans that way. So, a lot of the business comedy is a lot like Mafia, where it's like it's really handed down from person to person, which I think is why I want to write this book, because if some people can avoid the low lights of touring with these weirdos that have a sex addiction or something like that, then they can, I can put them on some game, as Todd would say.
That's what I'm
Todd
talking
would say that. Yeah. Have you legitimately had
but it's necessary.
like a time where like you guys stopped at a Buc-ee's and you thought it was just like a regular like Buc-ee's stop, but one of the comics that you're writing with managed to come up with like a bit from it, where you thought it was just a stop at Buc-ee's, but he turned it into a whole thing on stage?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything off the top. Nothing jumps out at the top of my head, but like, that's kind of what, sometimes like getting to a new city, you get to experience all these new things. Like Oklahoma, the first time you hear tornado sirens as a person living on the West Coast, which you never hear that, you start to freak out and go, oh, I got to hide in my bathtub. And then a couple hours later, you get out and then you Google it and it's like, oh, it was just a test. They just test them once a week. But
Right.
No one tells you that when you get to a new city. It's not like on the sign, like, welcome to Oklahoma. P.S. Don't shit your pants Sunday at noon. And so, but then you learn more about it and it's confusing because they say they only test them if there's no chance of a tornado. But even if the siren, like the siren goes off when there's, like, even if the siren is going off, it doesn't mean that there's actually a tornado. It means there might be a tornado. So the siren is just going off and it's just the boy who cried tornado at that point. Cause is this a test? Is it a real one?
Yeah.
I mean, you can look outside and go, it's sunny, but
Right.
sometimes those things really sneak up on you. So
Yeah.
yeah, just little things like that. Like, I don't, Buc-ee's, everyone hyped it up like this is the craziest thing, and you're like, okay, it's just a Walmart gas station with a mascot. It's not a big deal.
Uh-huh.
But other people think it's exciting, so God bless them.
Yeah, God bless you, Corey.
My wife and I drove down to Siesta
Corey.
Key this year, and we stopped at a couple of Buc-ee's on the way, and I thought it was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. But
you know what?
That's just me.
It is just you.
Hit the button.
I don't know what, but you're talking
your
about,
wife
Todd.
thinks you're the greatest thing ever, so clearly a lot of bad taste in that relationship. But I didn't know where to go with that. I don't know.
No, that you went to the
I
perfect
I mean,
place.
it's like it's a Walmart gas station. I don't know what's so exciting about seeing a sex worker in a chipmunk costume, but a sex offender in a chipmunk costume. But
Oh, when you said when you said sex worker, I'm like, well, there's a big draw to that, but a sex
that's
offender,
right. Yeah.
A sex
Yeah.
offender, that's a different.
I didn't mean to
that's a
expose
different-
your other podcast, the Furry Cast. But,
Yeah. Speaking of which, Nonsense Zone said I exposed myself to a nude audience, and I don't know what he's talking about.
Why are we reading that?
oh yeah, new NEW.
Oh,
There is. It's funny that they bring that up. There used to be a show at Portland. Every show that's weird happens in Portland, but they had a sex club, a swingers club, and so sometimes you would perform for the swingers, and then they tried a nude comedy show where all the comedians were naked and all the audience was naked. I was never booked on that. I think it would have been intimidating for everybody, but
Yeah, you didn't want it right. You would have taken the whole thing. I can't compete with that.
I can really go long in my timing. So no, I never got asked to do the show, but the thing is like when you're nervous doing comedy, they tell you to picture your audience naked anyways. So you know, I can't imagine actually seeing them naked, but
If I saw these two knuckleheads naked in the crowd, I don't know that I could say a word other than "come on."
come on over. Or
No.
okay.
Come on, man.
Todd doesn't have to see us naked in the crowd. He's already seen that before, just without a crowd.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I got some leaked DMs I can share if you really
Please do.
things
Please
get
do.
nasty over here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So speaking of Portland and nakedness and strip clubs, have you been to Mary's?
Mary's Place?
Yeah, Mary's Place.
I've never even heard of Mary's. I know like Acropolis. There's like Little Devil's Lounge
The
or
good
something
ones.
like that. Acropolis is famous because you get like a steak for $8 and then you can see roast
Mhm.
beef at the same
Yeah.
time. And
Yeah, Mary's Place is one of the ones that isn't famous, but it does have
oh,
roller skating strippers and a jukebox where you'll see a stripper doing a roller skating routine to the Legend of Zelda theme song, which,
And she was able to bounce her tits to.
yeah, I don't know why.
Like,
you need,
wow.
why would you need anything more than that?
Muscle wise, not actually like hands, just with her own muscles, she was able to do it.
You got very descriptive
Yeah.
on that. Yeah, which
it's
we
a good thing
appreciate.
this is from the waist up because I have a boner already.
I don't doubt that one bit.
Memories. Memory.
I was gonna tilt the camera down and then I
It hit your boner and stopped. You're like, damn it.
yeah, it just can't go further. Anyway, I apologize to the viewers. But, no, we did my friend's bachelor party in Portland, and then we did my other friend's divorce party in Portland. So
Same night?
we had what do you call it, a scavenger hunt. So we had a bunch of tasks. Someone had to like get a stripper to arm wrestle. Someone had to steal underwear from a stripper, and
That's not hard.
so very exciting.
I mean,
Legend of Zelda and roller skates, though, that sounds like
Oh yeah, it's a good time.
making
Oh,
a
it's worth
chipmunk costume out of the closet, and me and Todd will take a trip.
dude, I'm telling you, Mary's Place is the place to go in Portland if you're looking for a good strip club. I don't even feel
Hell
like
yeah.
it's an actual strip club because it's so
That's a strip club?
it's so small. And the stage is like 5 feet by
How do you
5
roller
feet.
skate?
The size of the
I-
place.
I-
don't-
It's very tough.
Oh, there's a stage. I mean, they're very talented on the roller skates. Even though it's a small area, they'll just kind of go back and around in a circle. But
That's
it's
cool.
completely worth it.
Oh yeah, I think we went back every single night
I'll
we
take
were
your
in
word for it.
Portland.
Yes, they do make you work for it. But that's
Voodoo donuts and strippers, baby.
a good strip club. But there's got to be a little give and take, right? Can't just be on them to do all the performing. You gotta come through too, on the tips, buying the merch.
Nice choice of words, Bob.
Yep,
They did
Tips
have some
and-
sweet T-shirts.
they did. All right, sir. Can we? I did have one more question. Can I go, Corey and
we
Todd?
gotta
You're good.
wrap it
Yeah,
up.
one more question.
Yeah.
And this is something that because I'm a
Wife is yelling from the other room. I only give you 1 hour. And so we're going soon, but
oh my god, that is completely not the case. I have all the time in the world. However, I love
she's
stand-ups.
like, please stay the fuck away from
Yeah,
me.
just- yeah. Take all the time you need.
Go
No,
in your little podcast studio.
yeah, your little podcast project. No, I'm a huge stand-up fan, and it's the minutia of the thing that interests me. So, in the moments where like, okay, you've gotten to the venue, right? You've had a drink in the back. Maybe there's a green room. Maybe there isn't a green room, but you've got like maybe 10 or 15 minutes before you're probably gonna go on. They're gonna call you up. What's the mood in that? Like, how do you prepare mentally for? Like, okay, you've got your act, you know what you're doing, you've rehearsed it, memorized it, you feel pretty good about it. But in that 10 or 15 minutes beforehand, what's going through your head? What are the emotions that you're feeling at that moment?
It's different for every situation. I mean, it depends who you're with. It depends, some people have requests like leave me a dessert tray. Some people say like, green M&Ms or whatever. Some people like silence or just like, light jazz or something. And some people want to be just, how's your day? And oh my God, let me tell you, oh shoot, I got to go on stage. I'll be right back. And so some people are just like, I know this guy who's like sort of maybe anxious, so he just, plays little video games on his phone and maybe he has like a self-help podcast or something. You are good enough. And so it's different for everybody. I'm usually like looking over notes and like, trying to figure out like, am I implementing something new tonight? Did I change anything? What are the goals you're trying to accomplish? And then you're trying to peek out to see like, if there's a comedian on already, are they doing well? Is there certain stuff that maybe the crowd is pulling back on? Not that you may be able to do anything about it because sometimes your act is your act and you're like, this is all I can do. But, you can be more mentally prepared. It just depends on, my vibe is usually just like getting ready. Some people are like shadow boxing and trying to like, do push-ups and jump rope and stuff like that but I'm just kind of chilling. And then it's that 2 minutes right before you're about to go on that your butthole for me starts to pucker and you're like, oh God, why did I choose to do this with my life? And then from that point until you get the first laugh, everything is tight. Once that first laugh hits and then you're like, oh, okay, I know what I'm doing. Because sometimes you're like, do they like jokes here? Do they know what kind of joke? It's Detroit. Do they know words? What's the vibe of the town? So there's like self-doubt that kind of creeps in where you go like, I know it's worked every night, but maybe this is the night where they hate me for some reason. And so stuff like that, most normal shows, it's just kind of routine. You're showing up to work and, trying to slack off, hoping your boss doesn't notice. But some gigs, like I got hired to perform at a wedding and they told me like, arrive at like 4 p.m. so you can see the wedding and stuff. And I was like, do I have to? And then, but then I ended up writing all these jokes about like specifically about what was happening at the wedding and, making, and I ended up turning it into this big roast where I just kind of made fun of them the whole time because they kept telling me like, you can just do your normal set. And I was like, I don't think people are going to want to hear my dead dad jokes at your wedding, And so, but it ended up working out really well. But, there is a saying in our business, I guess, that is like, if you're not anxious, that means you're not trying or you don't care or something like that. And so you want to feel a little bit like, all right, well, I hope I'm prepared and ready to do my thing. And then, but you also want to presude confidence and don't come out like, I hope you guys like jokes, because they can smell it on you. It's a thing they don't even realize they're judging you for. But if you start to get nervous, they get nervous for you. And then it gets really like awkward where they're like, oh, and then they're whispering to their friends. Like, one of my worst shows ever, one of those triple runs I talked about in the middle of nowhere, I was just bombing my face off and I had 30 minutes to do. And I hear stories when you're young that's like, if you do 28 minutes and you get off stage early, we're not going to pay you. And so I'm up there like, I got to get my $100 and a drink ticket tonight.
Yeah.
And I see this lady lean into her friend and she's not like whispering or like trying to be quiet. And she goes, if he doesn't get off stage soon, I'm going to unplug the microphone. And you're just standing there like, I agree with you, but this is my dream.
$100. Yeah.
Yes. But then I started, giving her a lap dance and that made everything better. So
there you go.
Hey. As long as you corrected it, that's all that matters.
I think it's the hardest job in the world that you do, where you've got to prepare so extensively, and yet you have to go up there as though it was second nature.
I agree. I'm a hero.
You are. And speaking of heroes,
I was going to sing. Did you ever know
There's Todd Dillon.
Indeed.
Did we cover we covered the dates you got coming up, Andrew? Anything else that you wanted to add to that so we can let the folks?
I got a sex tape releasing soon.
Fantastic.
Performing at the Epstein Island Comedy Festival. I don't know if you. Yeah. I actually curious about your guys' opinion on this. If I can throw in a bonus round just for you guys,
Absolutely.
But there was a big deal about. There was a comedy festival in Saudi Arabia that the like kings of Saudi Arabia put on, and they paid all these comedians like 40 times their normal rate, and so there was a lot of comedians that got backlash. Like, you're performing for $1 million for these people who, like, you know, murder citizens every day or something like that. And so, I was curious what your price would be.
You want the normal working man's take on this? We can give you that, because I think Bill Burr was one of those guys that went to
exactly. Yes. The problem with Bill Burr is that he on his podcast is like, these greedy billionaires and millionaires, and then he's like, hey, $1 million to Saudi Arabia, I'll take it. And so people are like, you can't go on Jimmy Kimmel and go, free Luigi, and then go, hey, I'll take a $1 billion myself. And so that's, I think, the other comedians, it's like nobody expects anything of them. Like, we know that they're not good people. So I think people were just let down by someone like Bill Burr, who's like woke or whatever, all of a sudden doing that. But I don't know if you've burned all your DVDs or.
Oh no, I've got.
No, I think.
Else want to go first? Todd, you got something to say?
I do. Ultimately, again, I think it's at the end of the day, while the optics might not be great, it's a job is a job, and he's an artist, and ultimately, you guys go out there and you perform for people for pay, and so I think. It's a weird thing. I'm not a cancel a person because they do a thing that I disagree with. Again, Saudi Arabia is, again, there are people there who want comedy, and if you get $1 million to do it, do your best and come home and you're $1 million richer, and help people where you can. I think so. I'm never against people earning a good living.
I'll add to that. I'm a huge Bill Burr fan, and I thought, Todd, did you tell me, Todd, that Andrew, you and Bill Burr have some sort of connection on the circuit?
No, I made a joke that was I'm opening for Bill Burr at the Epstein Island Comedy Festival, and they've had a shitty past, but they're turning over a new leaf, and
Perfect.
I fucking fell for it, I guess. No, I guess I would say for a lot of those guys that went, that are established comedians who are clearly like not, going from comedy club to comedy club, every night trying to make a living. Like, they're already established and successful comedians, as successful as you could possibly get. I think that I heard some good and some not so good explanations for why they made the trip. I can appreciate both sides of the argument, because they started out where, I would be starting out today. If I all of a sudden decided that I wanted to be a stand-up, I would have to start at the bottom, and they've been there and they worked their way up, and they know what it's like to have to work for the living that you've got, and where you're getting, like you said, Andrew, $300 for 2 8-hour trips over a 3-day weekend to do shows. I don't begrudge them going to get paid, which maybe they're never going to see that kind of money again. But if I were in their shoes, I guess I would have probably done my homework to see, like, who exactly am I playing for? Is it normal people who actually are clamoring for stand-up from the Western world because they live under an oppressive regime, et cetera, or these the oppressors that I'm playing for? If they're the oppressors, then that's where I have a bit of a problem with, what I love best about Bill Burr is that he's all like, let's go after these banker a-holes, and they're the people who are really, putting our country in a bind. But then if you go over there and you're playing for the oppressors, then I'm like, well, what are you doing? Because that doesn't square with what I hear from you on your podcast every week.
But what if the bit actually rips on those people while you're there, like getting paid to actually salt them?
Well, that's sort of the issue, is that they had, like the Mormons, every person has their own list of requirements. Like, hey, keep it down on the murder a journalist joke over here. So, that's kind of the issue. Is like no one begrudges a paycheck. I think a lot of people, if Bill Burr would have come back and said, "Hey, they offered me $1 million," like, what am I supposed to tell them? We would have been like, "Hey, $1 million," but he is kind of like, who cares? And it's bringing change, and I'm a freedom fighter, and it's like, well, I think if you want to claim yourself as this, I'm making the change and I'm pushing the boundaries, if you get to do the same jokes you do in Toledo, Ohio, that you do in Saudi Arabia, then you're not really pushing any boundaries, and the type of comedian that is the woke guy. Like there was a guy, Tim Dillon, who's an amazing podcast, and he made jokes about them having slaves on his podcasts in America, and then they canceled his performance over there.
Yeah.
And so his argument was like, look, I get that you have limits on what I can say when I get there, but I'm not going to let you censor me here. That's not fair to me. And that shows that you really aren't changing who you are. You're just trying to pretend. And so that being said, I'm not the guy they're gonna call, because it's but I've heard some of the salaries, and it would be pretty nice.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if they had made that kind of offer to regular working comedians who hadn't already been established with acting parts in major movies and screenplays that have been developed into TV shows, then it might be a totally different story. Those people would kill to make that kind of money. But someone like Bill Burr, to make $1 million, like Bill Burr's probably already made $1 million. Does he really need to?
So there was one comedian who tried to apologize on TikTok, and he said, look, this is 40 shows worth of paycheck for me. And so when you put it in that perspective of like, damn, that's pretty cool. And he ended up canceling and saying, I'll just do the shows. I get it. I understand why there's backlash, and you're right. I'll just do 40 shows. And even people got mad at the apology, like, oh, you had to make a big deal about it. But I think that was a fair way to put it, to be like, if you can get 6 months salary in one day,
really hard to turn down. Yeah. But the other thing is,
I might, look the other way on some stuff too. So
the other thing is,
I mean, we know how bad Todd is of a person, and I'm on this podcast, so
Exactly.
I think I'm gonna get canceled.
But I got this tattoo appointment that I can't get out of.
Right.
and so the Nonsense Zone also said for $1 million, he would go down on every one of us on the Schnozcast. Sorry, Andrew.
Who's paying this $1 million? Do we have to pay the $1 million?
No, I think it comes out of nowhere.
We're just the beneficiaries of his generosity.
Yeah.
I'll send an IOU, and then.
So Andrew, I was going to say too, I got that offer to go to Saudi Arabia, and I was like, you know what, I can't do this. I got to turn it down.
I got a whole bunch of laundry to do.
Good for you.
Even for the amount of money they were willing to offer, I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
I can't. Out of everyone's rights, I can't do this. I gotta turn it down.
In all seriousness, no.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's not like you're a politician. Like politicians, you kind of expect that sort of backhanded corruption, self-servingness from. But a stand-up.
Why are comedians being held to a higher standard than politicians? Like that's
they are. Comedians
Donald Trump is like, hey, take a jet. I don't care. Pardon Daryl Strawberry. Who gives a shit? They're like, how dare you perform in Flint? Those people don't even have water, and you're stealing the money from them. And it's like, I
mean, it really says more about the state of politics than it does about the state of stand-up comedy, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Well,
indeed.
Yeah, it's gonna be real awkward when people find out about I got a blow job in my office. So I forget what the Monica Lewinsky podcast offered to blow us all. Isn't that what was going on earlier?
Exactly.
I could be wrong about that.
Cute.
All right. Should we? Can I take 30 seconds to do a quick here's what's coming?
You better hurry. We're already holding him over on the
I
time.
know. 30 seconds.
Sorry, Andrew.
All right. So, guys,
Hey,
please.
Mom, I'll be down in a minute.
Guys, so we got coming up. Please tune in with us on the 15th of November. Nonsense Zone. The same jackasses that you saw post on the questions for Andrew are going to be joining us. And then on the 22nd, we've got our lovely rock and roll confectioners, sound eaters from France. And then the 29th, we have Nina Instead, true crime novelist. We're so happy to be able to talk to all of them. And Andrew Rivers, this has been fantastic. I hope that despite what Todd, the joke that Todd dropped at you, that you'll come back and do the podcast again.
I think you're breaking up. What was that again? Thank you so much for having me. It was a great time.
Thank you,
Thanks
sir.
again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right. We're going to send you out, but can you hold on just for a second after we get done with the music? We'll just say a quick...
Just don't tell anyone that we're friends or anything.
Absolutely not.
Of course not.
Never. Not once. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. Peace out.